So, folks, we gotta talk about the fact that Donald Trump and the Republican Party have brought us to the brink of nuclear war with this care we have come to expect from the Republican Party, which is to say, none at all. Essentially, Donald Trump has been making threats throughout the weekend. He has been publicly stating things like Tuesday, I'm going to quote here, Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. 3 exclamation points. Open the fucking straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Dash. Just watch! Exclamation point, all caps. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. I believe he put this out on Easter. I just want to share with you guys what I think is maybe the most emblematic, essentially where the general Republican Party is at right now when it comes to what Donald Trump is doing with his brinksmanship. Okay? And it's this tweet from Eric Erickson, who, if you don't know who he is, he's a prominent far-right MAGA Christian pastor, talk show guy. That's his general vibe. It's conservo slop, basically. And he says, look, I don't think it's appropriate. Wish he hadn't. But if I have to choose between this and Trans Recognition Day or whatever on Easter, okay. Now, I want to be very clear what this guy is saying. He's like, well, it's unfortunate that the president had to threaten open war crimes. But, if I have to choose between the United States slaughtering civilians and dooming people to die in increasingly hideous ways, or recognizing that trans people exist on Easter, I guess I would choose the slaughtering civilians and innocents. Like, that's... Like, we've just arrived at a level of...
fucking pronouns!
That I can't even begin to imagine. But that's where we are right now. Like, conservatives are just straight up telling you to your face that they're okay with war crimes. They're like, well, it's an either or. Either we have to stop being bigoted to trans people, or we do war crimes. And I guess in that scenario, we choose war crimes. Like, it's genuinely insane. And I think there has been a tendency on, especially among the mainstream media, to like sane wash the GOP. And I guess I'm just here to tell you that, like, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not terribly interested. Of course, I'm interested in understanding where they're coming from so that we can perhaps, diffuse their worst impulses wherever we can't outright defeat them. But there's nothing sane about this. This is just evil. This is just straight up evil. And this isn't this isn't a limited problem. Like, this is laced through basically all conservative media right now. This is laced through all conservative politicians right now. This is the dominating factor that they have going on right now. And I want you to know, if you've been checked out of politics for a bit, it gets worse, because Donald Trump was just openly reveling in committing war crimes. I'm going to play you guys this audio here.
Littering, and they just don't want to say uncle. They don't want to cry, as the expression goes, uncle, but they will. And if they don't, they'll have no bridges, they'll have no power plants, they'll have no anything. I won't go further, because there are other things that are worse than those two. And we might have, well, the thing, if I had my choice, what would I like to do?
You guys can't hear that? I boost.
Take the oil, because it's there for the littering, and they just don't want to say uncle. They don't want to cry, as the expression goes, uncle, but they will. And if they don't, they'll have no bridges, they'll have no power plants, they'll have no anything. I won't go further, because there are other things that are worse than those two. And we might have, well, the thing, if I had my choice, what would I like to do? Take the oil, because it's there for the taking. There's not a thing they can do about it. Unfortunately, the American people would like to see us come home. If we're Up to me, I'd take the oil, I'd keep the oil, and would make plenty of money. And I'd also take care of the people of Iran, much better than they've been taken care of.
That was at the White House Easter party. That's what they're doing right now. But it gets worse. It just gets worse. Because again, he's talking about bombing civilian infrastructure. Bombing, like, water plants, bombing power plants that serve civilian centers. This is just evil. Additionally, there have been some reports coming out that indicate that the United States has been bombing warehouses that house pistachios, specifically at the behest of the Wonderful Company, which has been lobbying Donald Trump and Trump's administration to go to war with Iran for quite some time now. There's just so much grifting, so much hatred, so much wish fulfillment going on. Like, it is wild. And now here's a different event that Donald Trump went to over the last couple days.
Go ahead, please. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said earlier today during the egg roll that you would like to take Iran's oil, but Americans want U.S. forces home.
Correct.
What's that trade-off?
If I had my choice,
choice,
yeah, because I'm a businessman first. With Venezuela, as you know, the war was over in about 45 minutes. And we have great people running Venezuela, very good people. I mean, the relationship is good. And we are a partner with Venezuela. And we've taken hundreds of millions of barrels, hundreds of millions.
Yeah, as we all know, when you're a partner with somebody, you just take their stuff. That's what a partnership is, right?
Over 100 million barrels already is in Houston, refined and out, and paid for that war many, many times over, many times over. You know, the old days, to the victim. Okay, you know that. To the winner belong the spoils.
His brain is at such a level of mush that he cannot recall the phrase, "To the victor go the spoils." And instead he says, "To the victim go the," and then he realizes that that's not correct. But he can't remember the word victor. His brain is dying in real time.
Go the spoils. And I've said, why don't we use it? To the victor go the spoils. And we don't have that. We haven't had that in this country probably in 100 years, because even the Second World War, you look at the Second World War, we didn't have it with the Second World. We helped rebuild all those countries. We rebuilt Germany. How about Germany telling us?
Yeah, and how'd that work out? How'd that work out for the U.S. economy there after the Second World War? Oh, it worked out great? Oh, that's so weird.
Germany telling us that, well, it's not their war. We had nothing to do with it. They wanted me to go and tell them everything I was doing. We didn't know anything about it. Well, if I would have told them, they would have leaked it, and we wouldn't have been nearly as successful, possibly, right? But to the victor belong the spoils. So
he can't even make a point. This is incoherent. And that brings us to, earlier today, Donald Trump truthed out a message that reads, I'm just going to read it here. "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran." Now, it is worth noting here that, of course, what he is describing is straight up genocide. This is genocide. And one of the things that I've been vocal about recently, especially as his behavior becomes more unhinged, it's impossible to escape the idea and the knowledge that this man possesses the ability to unilaterally launch nuclear weapons. And so when he starts talking about ending a civilization. We unfortunately need to take him seriously because he has the power to annihilate another country with nuclear weapons. And so this is absolutely terrifying, you know? And I'm just going to play this clip again from the Easter egg roll event that Donald Trump was at to hear just how concerned he is about the possibility of the United States committing war crimes and what he thinks about unhinged leadership that controls nuclear weapons.
Plants could be a war crime.
I'm not worried about it. You know it's a war crime? Having a nuclear weapon. Allowing a sick country with demented leadership have a nuclear weapon. That's a war crime. And if I allowed that to happen, like 7 other presidents did, every president said, you know, many of them are saying be off the record and they're saying behind the scene, they should have done this a long time ago. For 47 years this has been going on, and every one of those presidents should have done it. And actually, as you know, off the record, they're doing it off the record because they haven't got the courage to say it. Those presidents are giving me a lot of credit. This should have been done by Obama, should have been done by Clinton, should have been done by the Bushes. This should have been done. And it would have been a lot easier if it was done a long time ago, right? You agree with me?
I mean, like, this, one, this is incoherent. But 2, he lacks any self-awareness that what he's describing right now is the United States, a country that is currently at war with Iran for no reason, while he threatens to annihilate their civilization. That's where we're at right now. And, I mean, like, this guy is... I mean, he's not worried about committing war crimes at all. In fact, he's just like, no. The real war crime is having nukes. Here he is again at the Easter egg roll. So many clips out of this.
Sign order to you guys. And then tonight, you can sell it for $25,000 on eBay. Now, Biden would use the auto pen. He'd have an auto pen follower. You know, Joe Biden, he didn't sign. He was incapable of signing his hand. So they'd follow him around with this big machine. You know what it was called? An auto pen. And he'd have the auto pen signed for him. He'd take the paper, hand it to his guys, then sign it with an auto pen, get it back. It's not too good, right? Sign order to you guys.
He'd follow them around with a big machine called an auto pen. The fact that he's talking about politics with these children at all, like, they don't know who the fuck Joe Biden is. Why? This is insane. Absolutely insane. But let's also just take a look at this. This is from that press conference from later on Easter.
Mr. President, are you allowed to, or are you willing to end this conflict with Iran charging tolls for passage through the strait?
Us charging tolls?
Iran.
What about us charging tolls?
Is that something you're considering?
I'd rather do that than let them have them, right? Why shouldn't we? We're the winner. We won, okay? They are militarily defeated. The only thing they have is the psychology of, oh, we're going to drop a couple of mines in the water, all right? No, we have a concept where we'll charge tolls, okay? I thought you meant us. Your question would have been more accurate if you said us. Go ahead.
I cannot stress enough that the United States has not secured the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is not defeated militarily. They have like an army of like, I think their foreign minister boasted the other day, they have like 14 million volunteers waiting to like join in any kind of repelling of a ground invasion of Iran. Like, they are not worried about like having lost. Like they haven't been defeated. Even our own intelligence announced like just a handful of days ago, like over 50% of Iran's like ballistic missile capabilities remain intact. They're repairing a lot of these missile silos faster than we can bomb them. And like, they're burning through our our interceptor ammunition. Like, this is not going well for us right now. And the United States is not willing to commit to a total ground invasion of Iran on the scale necessary to actually beat Iran. But like, when we're talking about like reopening the Strait of Hormuz militarily, oh, they're defeated militarily. The Strait of Hormuz is still very much on lock. Like like it's so on lock that Iran has in place right now the capacity to collect tolls from ships that want to transit the strait. They've been collecting allegedly over $2 million per ship going through the Strait of Hormuz. So like the idea that like, oh, they're done militarily. If they were done militarily, then how are they able to charge those tolls? The answer is they're just not done. Okay? Like, this just to me indicates how out of touch with reality Donald Trump is. And of course, this is just from April 6th here. Apropos of nothing.
He's a great person, but he's got... And you know, it all began with, if you want to know the truth, Greenland. We want Greenland. They don't want to give it to us, and I said, bye-bye. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
What the fuck? This guy is a fucking lunatic. And I know that at a certain point, there are going to be like some conservatives that watch my content at some point, and they're like, oh, Riverboat Jack just has Trump derangement syndrome or whatever. But like, I do mean... not that like, oh, he's so crazy in like a hyperbolic sense. Not like some kind of, oh, like he's insane. Like in a way I don't really mean. I mean fully, this guy is nuts. Is it just me or is he getting worse? He's getting worse. This man is not competent to be president. He's not even competent evil. You know? He actually just is insane. And of course, he's doing all of this with the backing of the Israeli government. The Israeli government backed up Donald Trump's, threats today by telling Iranians via the internet, by the way, a medium that Iranians cannot actually access at the moment, generally speaking. But the IDF told Iranians not to ride any trains until after 9 p.m. Iran time, because, they were announcing their intent to bomb civilian trains. Just all kinds of evil here. Well, I want to play for you guys this, which is a voicemail.
سلام دخترم دیگه گفتم امروز باهات یه حرفی بزنیم چون دیگه
I wanted to call you tonight as Trump said he will attack us tonight.
نصف شب به وقت ما تمام میشه دیگه حالا اصلا معلومه
Who knows if I can even call you anymore after that. He wants to attack all our power infrastructure, so probably can't even call you anymore.
تلفن داری
At least wanted to call you one last time and hear your voice.
بابات هم یه ذره سرما
Your dad is also a bit sick. I'll try calling you again tonight.
قربونت برم خدا حافظت عزیزم.
Like, in the middle of all of this, like, there are actual people. This is not like some abstract conflict. There are almost 100 million Iranians. The kinds of threats that Donald Trump is making, I want you to understand, are against a country that is a third the size of the United States. It's like if you were sitting there threatening to obliterate the West Coast. And so that's kind of where we've been up till now, of course. And, obviously the Iranians on the ground, they don't want their power infrastructure bombed. So they've been doing this. Here they are forming a human chain around one of their power plants. But understand that Donald Trump is threatening to kill all of those people. All of those people. When you as the President of the United States say a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again, you are announcing your intent to commit genocide. You are announcing a plan to commit genocide. You are being direct with your incitement to commit genocide. You are announcing your intent to attempt to commit a genocide. And also, of course, that you agree with the concept of genocide as an acceptable recourse. And so that's where we're at right now. Donald Trump just announcing nonstop, hey, you know what? We're just going to kill everyone in Iran. And I want you to understand that even when you're talking about, Mrs. McVoter down in Georgia, okay? Mrs. McVoter understands that what Donald Trump is talking about is a fucking atrocity, a war crime of the highest order.
It's giving war crime. You can't do that. We don't just annihilate people because we can and, make a grab for the money and the oil. And that's what we've done in Venezuela, and that's what we're doing in Iran.
I mean, Mrs. McVoter gets it. There is a change in the wind here, and, Americans are realizing the horror that that is currently at play. It's giving a war crime. Bless our millennial moms. God, is she a millennial? She must be with that language, but man, people of such pallid complexions like myself, we don't age well. That's kind of where we're at. And of course, Donald Trump threatening to annihilate an entire civilization managed to organize some Democrats into an effort to invoke both the 25th Amendment as well as impeachment and removal proceedings. Of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This is a threat of genocide, merits removal from office. The president's mental faculties are collapsing and cannot be trusted. To every individual in the president's chain of command, you have a duty to refuse illegal orders. That includes carrying out this threat, which, yeah, absolutely. And I understand that, when we are looking at this current situation, the idea that invoke the 25th Amendment, we need 2/3 of Congress and his cabinet to actually turn on him. When that's not going to happen. We're in a moment right now where I think impossible things are about to become possible. And I think we should be demanding and pushing as hard as we can for these outcomes, for our desired outcomes, for impeachment and removal, impeachment, conviction, and removal, for the 25th Amendment to be invoked. We should be pushing on all of our levers of power, all of our levers of possibility, because that is what is needed at this current moment, right? We also have here, we got Congressman Nikema Williams. Donald Trump is unfit to serve as leader of the free world. That's why I've co-sponsored H.R. 939 articles of impeachment to remove him from office. We've got a lot of different folks. The Pope himself said to call your congressperson to stop this madness. I mean, he's a global threat. I mean, guys.
Me now, Democratic
Senator,
Congressman Adam
Representative
Smith, ranking
Smith.
member of the House Armed Services Committee. Thank you for joining us. I want to first get your reaction to the president's latest threat.
Look, it is just completely disgusting and not something any president should ever say. And if Republicans are concerned about that, they should be focused on stopping Donald Trump. I mean, look, whether he does it or not, the language he has used, the way he has approached this conflict, his complete lack of concern for all of the costs of the war, the people being killed, the wild and insulting rhetoric he is using, it has done such damage to the United States of America, to our place in the world. There was the old saying about how America first should never mean America alone. I never believed that. But this is Trump with America alone, and America just, morally bankrupt at this point. Those words have done, I think, as much damage to the United States' reputation in the world as anything that's happened, since the end of World War II. I can't even remember what. So regardless of what happens at this point, what Trump has done to date has done an enormous amount of damage. It would certainly make it vastly worse if he carries out any part of that threat. But it is time for Congress to figure out every day, how can we rein in Trump's power? He is
honestly, the fact that this hasn't been your goal as members of Congress this entire time is infuriating. Well, the time has come for us to try and figure out a way to limit his powers. That should have happened so many steps before the president was a raving lunatic on social media, threatening annihilation of other countries with nuclear weapons in a war he started for no reason. I'm so fucking furious. You know? These are the kinds of guys we need to get the fuck out of power. This is the kind of guy you need to organize to get out. Hit the road. Bunch of chunguses. I mean, you've got also Tim Kaine over here. Thune should immediately call the Senate back into session. Trump's unhinged threats to commit massive war crimes against Iranian civilian targets show an increasing mental and moral instability we can't ignore. Yup. I mean, it's just so many. Ro Khanna here.
Needed to be done in Iran, and do you agree with what the president is proposing right now?
No on what the president is proposing. And
let's start with the first part.
Well, what we needed was a diplomatic solution. Look, gas was at $2.30 before we went in. Now it's at $4. The enriched uranium is still buried underneath. We haven't gotten rid of it. Obama had gotten rid of 97% of that enriched uranium.
But we don't know exactly what they were telling. Well, we know they weren't telling us the truth. We already know that from the missiles that they've launched. We know that from other things, that basically they've been lying all along, which makes people not trust diplomacy with Iran.
Yes, but it was ripped up by Donald Trump in 2018. I mean, the reality is Obama had gotten rid of 97% of their enriched uranium. The reality is they still had ballistic missiles. We should have negotiated for a tougher JCPOA. But what have we done? We've gotten rid of Khamenei, and we've gotten Khamenei Jr., who is more hardline. Khamenei at least had a fatwa saying no nuclear weapons. Khamenei Jr. actually wants to develop nuclear weapons. And then if we get rid of Khamenei Jr., we're going to have the IRGC. The IRGC is even more hardline. So we're going to have military takeover of Iran. What Trump was thinking is we'd have someone like Venezuela who'd be pliant to us. Now they're actually defiant of us. So what is his end game? I mean, is the end game really to blow up all of Iran and actually commit war crimes? Or is the end game to end the bombing of Iran, to, Israel, the United States, have a ceasefire?
The JCPOA.
Well, did you agree?
Ro Khanna's right. Like Donald Trump is the only reason we are here right now. He's the only reason we are here right now. He ripped up the agreement that would have stopped this. He ripped up the agreement and fucked us all in the process and killed thousands for his own ego. By the way, pretending this entire bombing campaign of Iran isn't already a war crime is dumb. Exactly, it is. We've already committed so many different war crimes. At no point, by the way, in the chain of command, did any of, as far as we know, did any of the soldiers in our military say, no, I'm not going to do that, that's a war crime? Maxwell Frost, Adam Schiff. We got Representative Ansari, who's been pretty good on this.
Before we get to that impeachment push, though, against Hegseth, I want to hear your response to President Trump's stunning threat this morning, saying that a whole civilization could die tonight. What's your response to that? What went through your mind when you read that?
I've been sick to my stomach for days. I mean, this language has been escalating every 24 hours. And I think Donald Trump is trying to normalize language that is essentially, threatening genocide, threatening war crimes, of course, threatening potential use of nuclear weapons. And I am just beyond astounded that we are not seeing so much more from all elected officials, and I'll include some Democrats in that, but Republicans who are in power. How is anybody in the cabinet allowing this to happen? How is nobody trying to restrain this madman who is trying to get all of us killed? And we have mechanisms to restrain him, and they're not being utilized. I think this is a nightmare scenario. It's apocalyptic. I mean, of course, as somebody with an Iranian heritage, seeing, threats against a population of 90 million people is devastating. And I take Trump at his word. I also want to say that. I think that a lot of people still try to say that Trump doesn't mean what he says. Trump has followed through with many of the most horrific pledges he has made over the course of the second administration, and we should not be taking this lightly. This is a massive 5-alarm fire moment and a historic moment in our country's history.
Before we
Trump's not just committed war crimes, he committed war crimes by defunding public media. True. This is not, I don't know that there is any positive way out of this. And it is worth noting, as a result of the push here, there has been an announced ceasefire. Let's just pull this up. Largely, apparently, mediated by Pakistan. With the greatest humility, I'm pleased to announce that the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America, along with their allies, have agreed to immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon, and elsewhere effective immediately. I warmly welcome the sagacious gesture and extend deepest gratitude to the leadership of both the countries and invite their delegations to Islamabad on Friday, the 10th of April, 2026, to further negotiate for a conclusive agreement to settle all disputes. Both parties have displayed remarkable wisdom and understanding and have remained constructively engaged in furthering the cause of peace and stability. We earnestly hope that the Islamabad talks succeed in achieving sustainable peace and wish to share more good news in the coming days. Now, this is pretty cool. This is good. And also confirmed by Donald Trump. Based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested they hold off the destructive force being sent tonight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Donald Trump accepts. It is worth noting that this is very new. This is, it's been in place for like an hour and a half, maybe 2.5 hours. All right. I also want people to understand, I don't know how real this is. In particular, because this seems like a deal that was largely made by the United States with Iran in such a way that I'm not sure Israel was included at all in this negotiation. And it is entirely possible, despite the fact that there were some reports that Israel had accepted, this ceasefire behind the scenes. There have been some reports that missiles have continued to fly. I know right after the ceasefire, there were some reports of missiles being intercepted above the UAE, as well as some reports that Tehran had been struck by a bombing run from Israel. It remains to be seen whether or not this ceasefire can actually hold, but it remains essentially it remains essentially up in the air as to whether or not this is going to this is actually going to hold. Right after the ceasefire was announced, Israel got hit by Iranian missiles. It's also worth noting that like this particular video that you sent is from 709, and a missile can take like an hour to go from Iran to Israel, especially in the immediate aftermath of like signing the ceasefire. There probably were still going to be missiles in the air. Ballistic missiles only take 5 minutes. Drones can take over an hour. An Iranian ballistic missile can reach Israel's territory in under 15 minutes. So even if one is traveling Mach 5, it still takes roughly 12 minutes. If these missiles struck at 7:09, then they were launched before the ceasefire was announced. So like there were going to be, especially in the immediate announcement, there were going to still be missiles in the air. However, there have been reports that longer than within that window, there have been attacks on Iran itself. It really, really, really depends on the patience of Iran, the commitment to the commitment that Israel has to peace, which is to say none at all. And I would be very surprised if Israel doesn't succeed in trying to draw Iran back into some kind of a conflict, as well as the United States. But right now, all of the live reports coming out of Al Jazeera, which is maybe one of the more on-the-ball networks talking about this in particular, indicate that the ceasefire is still being observed largely by the United States and Iran. So, Hrundo, if I'm reading the situation correctly, Iran just flat out won, more or less. Basically, I mean, as far as you can win against a war of outright aggression, yes. So, like, yes, kinda, yes. This does really seem to be a step towards peace. We're gonna go into what exactly that means, but it's worth noting. We've been talking a lot on this channel about how the war has been spreading to Iraq, to Lebanon, to a whole host of different areas here, and it's worth noting that the ceasefire includes Lebanon, which had basically been I mean, it's been a target for genocide right now for Israel. So the fact that a ceasefire included Lebanon is a huge, huge win. Though again, remains to be seen if Israel won't just ignore that when it comes to Lebanon. Additionally, it appears that Iran's proxies, different groups it backs in Iraq, they are standing down and are going to respect the ceasefire as well. And so, so far, the indicators are that, at least on Iran's part, they are going to observe it. The big thing, of course, has been what are kind of the terms that are being discussed at these peace talks. The preliminary version of this 10-point plan, according to Iran's National Security Council, which was sent to the United States and received a fairly positive welcome from Donald Trump, includes the following points. Controlled passage through the Strait of Hormuz in coordination with the Iranian armed forces, the necessity of ending the war against all elements of the axis of resistance, the withdrawal of U.S. combat forces from all bases and deployment points in the region, the establishment of safe transit protocols in the Strait of Hormuz in a way that guarantees Iran's dominance according to the agreed upon protocol, full payment of Iran's damages according to estimates, lifting of all primary and secondary sanctions and resolutions of the Board of Governors and the Security Council, the release of all Iranian assets and properties frozen abroad, and ratification of all these matters in a binding Security Council resolution. So, essentially, what they are wanting out of this, they want restitution. They want, compensation for everything that has been destroyed. They want the United States to withdraw from the region completely, including military bases. And they want to be able to continue to charge tolls on ship passages through the Strait of Hormuz, essentially making it a much larger variation of like the Suez Canal or the Panama Canal. If they do get this, it would be a colossal win for them. Now, granted, this is all their starting position when it comes to a negotiation. We'll see if they actually are as firm on all of those points as it might seem like they will be, because I can see a few of these being relative non-starters to Donald Trump in the sense that he's going to know that like paying for damages is going to make him look bad. Withdrawing all U.S. combat forces is going to make him look bad. And I think a lot of the negotiation is going to be around what's going to make Donald Trump look good in this particular case. And as of about 2 minutes ago, the Associated Press is reporting that as part of the 2-week ceasefire, there is going to be a formalized method for both Iran and Oman to charge fees and tolls on trips transiting the Strait of Hormuz, because both Iran and Oman have territorial rights and claims over the Strait of Hormuz. And I'm not entirely sure how that split arrangement is going to work. Currently, that is where things stand. So I just, I don't really know where things go from here, but it is nice to see that we are not currently doing nuclear war. So that's good. Fuck. I have been on pins and needles all day, worried about that potential outcome. It's been awful. How come supporters of this war don't understand this war will lead Iran to pursue nuclear weapons? Because most of the people who support this war are dumb as fuck. Most of the people who are supportive of this war are either dumb as fuck or they are evil. Or, as is often the case, a combination of the two. Right? Like, what is happening here is that, you either get you're bought and paid for, you're dumb as fuck, or you're evil. Those are like your three options, and often all of them are true at the same time. And I mean, there's not really a way that I can illustrate how evil these people are, other than by pointing out that Prem Thakur, who y'all should keep it, y'all should be paying attention to what Prem Thakur talks about over on Zateo, okay? He's their political correspondent. And, well, he wrote this the other day, right? The world not screeching to a halt when the US killed more than 100 little schoolgirls on the very first day of this liberating war led us exactly to this moment. Can't tell you how many members of Congress who, at best, had nothing to say when I asked about the Minab girls' school attack. There is a profanely cold detachment inside Capitol Hill, a mode completely unrecognizable to common human decency I wish I could properly convey to you. Like, and I do think that is true, right? Like, a lot of the people in power who have the ability to end this are just, they're bought and paid for and have a vested interest in not getting it. It turns out you can be made into a much dumber person if you know that, like, your ability to make millions of dollars is contingent on you being the dumbest motherfucker in the room. That is what has happened to a lot of different members of Congress. Not to say that some of them aren't also evil. And it's just that there is a barrier that is erected for them to be able to just, like, keep the illusion going to themselves that they are good people. And I wanted to play this clip for you guys. It's a similar way that, like, Wall Street investors are just completely detached from, like, the actual conditions that they create. Here is the perfect example of what I'm talking about.
So that it feels like there's nowhere to hide.
So, Mike, let's talk about tonight. This deadline that President Trump has set, 8 p.m., has threatened to destroy a civilization. How does an investor process that? Is it a bigger upside risk or downside risk?
I think the market is trying to stay balanced on both feet because I think it's hard to discern that type of rhetoric as, a promise of something very destructive and long-lasting happening, to distinguish it from what somebody might say if you want to sort of build up a lot of hoopla before you de-escalate. And I honestly think the market is confused about that. It's the duration of this crisis that matters, I think, a lot more than the next move. We don't even know if 8 o'clock is going to stick. We've had these deadlines pushed up. So you have to remain open to a lot of scenarios. I think what's relevant is crude keeps making new highs. Yeah. Okay, it's not calmed down. That previously has meant stocks need to go down and make new lows. We're not making new lows. We're using up this 3%, 4% cushion versus last week's lows on the S&P 500. I think because people have that sense out there that there would be a hair trigger upside move if you got some clear line of sight toward some resolution of this crisis or hostilities ceasing for a while. So that
this is what I mean, right? When I talk about detachment, this is what I fucking mean. Where they're just, like, sitting there chatting as if like so what do you think that investor call means? Are we in a bear market or a bull market? But they're talking about a genocide. They're talking about like unspeakable war crimes. But to them, it's not real because what they're thinking about here is, well, is the line going to go up or is it going to go down? And how will that, because the people watching this show need to understand whether or not the line is going to go up or down so that they can make their investment decisions, right? And so what happens in Washington with politicians is very similar, right? To them, people aren't people. People are poles. People are abstract concepts represented numerically for like their donors. X percentage of people who come to my rallies are going to donate. How many of these people are going to like donate to the campaign or attend one of our fundraiser dinners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like there is a similar detachment. It's all insane. It's all stupid. It's all evil. But there are multiple levels of evil at work here, right? Because you have what has been referred to as the banality of evil. The ordinariness of evil writ large as absorbed by society in a multitude of different ways, right? The normalization of this kind of evil. And then you have people who are just straight up ideologically committed to trying to justify evil.
Fire. But I'm just wondering, just to follow up on that tweet, do you support intentionally targeting critical civilian infrastructure like power plants? I just want to note, I spoke to an Iranian who fled since the war who says Iranian citizens are very worried they could be worse off than before if that happens. Their infrastructure is gone and the IRGC is still in control. What do you think?
I think a couple of things, Pamela. One is, does that infrastructure have a dual use? And obviously, could that infrastructure be used by the military? And if the answer to those questions are yes, which I think they are, then they're within the purview of the United States attacking there. But again, let's see what the president has to say later this afternoon. I'm sure he will give us new information. And hopefully the Iranians will come to their senses and come to the table.
But as we put out fire...
That's a member of Congress. Well, those children could have grown up to be valuable assets for the Iranian military, so we had to slaughter all of them. Well, those infants in the ICU, they really could have grown up to be some influential Hitlers over there, so we had to kill them all. Like, this is where we're at. Like, these people are just straight up going out there and saying, we have the right to commit a genocide with their entire chests. And the reason I wanted to focus on this is because this isn't just like a Trump problem. This isn't happening just because Trump's brain is soup, though it is. This is happening because the entire Republican Party as an institution is on board with what is happening. The entire Republican Party loves this war with Iran. That might be out of step with the rank and file Republican voters, but the Republican Party that Republican voters put into power is absolutely 10,000% on board with this. Okay? Israel is also using that excuse to kill civilians? Yes. Because a lot of the settler colonial mentality found in Israel, we invented it. We used it first. The settler colonial mentality of the United States that has been used to commit genocide after genocide against indigenous people, we spread it over there. And like, if we're really going to be honest with ourselves here, and we should be, this should be a soul-searching moment for the Republicans and the Democrats. Because I have eyes. I was paying attention to every little thing happening online today. And I fucking saw Kamala Harris going out there and being like, how this is genocidal and wrong. It's just like, goddamn, Kamala Harris, you sat by silently for years and allowed like the Israeli government to pursue genocidal policies and warfare against the Palestinian people. And then when you ran for president, your complicity with that genocide, your complicity with that violence, that settler colonial violence, it cost you the election. And now you have the gall to stand up. Nate Silver believes that being pro-genocide polls at 8+ among 17 to 36-year-old white male Midwestern undecided voters, so Third Way supports it. I mean, I don't know if you're making a joke or if that's real, but like genuinely, it's not far off the mark, especially with Nate Silver. But, oh, what's that? We have another Republican member of Congress going on television to defend his president, threatening annihilation of an entire people. Let's listen, shall we? We got Mike Lawler over here.
Okay, do you think Congress should have a vote if the United States is going to make a whole civilization die?
Again, John, you are parsing here. The fact is we're talking about energy and civilian infrastructure. Mm-hmm. If you look at the role Congress has had a vote, and Congress rejected the push by Democrats, many of whom have previously said that this regime needed to go, many of whom have said this regime could not possess a nuclear weapon. Congress rejected the unilateral and immediate withdrawal. Mm-hmm. So Congress has already taken action. The president is within his legal authorities to conduct this war. He has taken action to obliterate Iran's ballistic missiles program, their naval fleet. The issue remaining really, is with regard to the Strait of Hormuz and the enriched uranium that is hardened, as you pointed out. So the question is the regime, the remaining remnants of this regime, willing to negotiate in good faith or not? That is what is at stake over the next 11 plus hours.
Congressman Mike Lawler from New York. I wasn't parsing, I was quoting, but I appreciate you being with us. Thank you very much for your time.
I was quoting the President of the United States. Everything I gotta be honest with you guys. Every Republican in Congress is evil and vile. Like, every single one of them. And like, there might be a couple of conscience. But today was the day to see who was actually a man, who was actually a woman, who was actually a goddamn human being and not some kind of synthetic amalgamation of robotic parts. Okay? And today we found out that almost every single congressional Republican is evil to the core. And I mean, here's Representative Carlos Jimenez.
I want to get your take on where we are in this war in Iran.
Look, I think that we have to finish the job. Simply, Iran has demonstrated to the world why a nuclear-armed Iran is an untenable Iran. Look what they're doing to the Strait of Hormuz. Look how they're threatening all their neighbors right now. Can you imagine if they had a nuclear weapon and they'd feel invulnerable? So, no, the president has to follow through with his threats, and also we need to finish it off, and this regime has to go. And so, I support what the president is doing. We just need to press forward because, look, Iran is like a cancer, and sometimes the cure to cancer hurts, but the cancer has to be eliminated, and that cancer is Iran.
Yeah, Liz, this is exactly what I want to get your take.
They're a cancer that we have to destroy. That's 100 million people you're talking about. 100 million people. There are a handful of Republicans in Congress. Nathaniel Moran of Texas, writing, that is not who we are. It's not consistent with the principles that have long guided America. Lisa Murkowski said that this threat cannot be excused away. Kevin Kiley of California. But like, I got to be honest with you guys. There's not a lot of Republicans that stepped forward and said this isn't right. That's it. Those three. I don't know, if you had any illusions about potentially Republicans being secretly good people in Congress, you are incorrect. I mean, fuck, here's Randy Fine, one of the most unhinged genocide enjoyers in Congress. Happy power plant and Bridge Eve! Fucking lunatic. I'm gonna play 2 more clips of this because I'm about at my limit of how mad I can be at these fucking genocidal freaks that Republican voters have deemed fit as their representatives. Here's Representative Sherry Biggs.
Committee, the House Homeland Security Committee.
Just the Chiron here, Trump, a whole civilization will die tonight. And she's like fucking smiling like a psychopath.
Homeland Security Committees, and she is also a lieutenant colonel in the Air National Guard. Wonderful to see you back here. Today is a huge day as the world kind of holds its breath to see what Iran does, what President Trump does. Talk to us about why you thought that was an important message, as many are looking at the sentiment for a war here, and of course the brave men and women who were there and who could be serving in it.
Well, hello, and thank you so much for having me today. First of all, I would just like to clarify, I don't think war is good. I would love to see some kind of resolve to this conflict quick, because I want our men and women to come home safely. But unfortunately, I think that at times you have to use strength, and there is peace through strength. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. And there is the cost for hesitation. And President Trump understands that. And I've seen what I think is...
There is peace through strength. She says above a Chiron, Trump, a whole civilization will die tonight. Peace through strength. Fucking fascist.
It's encouraging to me that he has tried to have communication and put an end to this.
There is something demonic about this. And like I don't believe in demons. I don't believe in ghosts. But like this is the closest we're gonna fucking get to demons on Earth. Right? Like, if you ever needed, like, fuel for your imagination, this is a demon straight from Central Casting. Absolutely unspeakable amounts of evil that these people are just displaying openly, wantonly. Like, they're going on television and basically doing everything except for a villain laugh. Like, if you wrote this lady's speech in a book, for children, like a young adult, adventure novel, and had that entire answer, word for word, printed on the page, every child, teenager, young adult who reads that book would understand that this is the villain. The villain of the story is the one who is standing there saying, well, I'm going to wipe out an entire civilization. Guys, we don't even have to like fictionalize this anymore. Like, the president of the United States is out there essentially saying we are going to try and kill everybody. We are not just the baddies, we're the cartoon baddies. Yeah, some of them do the evil laugh. That's true. Lindsey Graham's got it on lock. But I mean, let's just take a quick look over here at Megyn Kelly talking with that one conservative lady from The Hill. I forget what her name is. Emily something. Anyway, this is the last clip of this I'm going to play for you guys because there are so many examples of the unhinged and vile behavior from conservatives in this country. I do not know what has to happen to mangle your heart to turn you into this kind of person, but like, holy shit.
Honestly, Trump could drop a nuke and I'd still vote Republican over those.
Sorry, that might not have been loud enough. Let me boost the volume for you guys. It's just
Honestly, Trump could drop a nuke and I'd still vote Republican over those people because they want to
Avenue voter.
In some ways, I really am. But honestly, what they want to do is nuke our own country. You know, it's like the open border, what they're doing to children, all that stuff is still they would do it all if put back in power. And I think most Republicans know that. Which is honestly, Trump could drop a nuke, and I'd still vote Republican over those people.
Trump could drop a nuke, and I would still vote Republican. Trump could slaughter 100 million people and you'd still vote for Donald Trump. On the one hand, 100 million people slaughtered, down to every last man, woman, and child. On the other hand, trans people get health care. It's an impossible scenario. 100 million people, trans people get health care, and also immigrants get treated like human beings. Oh no, I guess I would have to choose 100 million people being dead. It's insane that they are going on their shows and saying this full-throatedly, and their co-hosts or guests are laughing about it. This isn't a fucking joke. What are they doing to children? What, save them from Epstein? What? No, Megyn Kelly is, of course, on Team Donald Trump. Okay, so Megyn Kelly, by the way, is going out there saying like, well, 15-year-olds, if they dress up like they're older, they got it coming to them. That's Megyn Kelly out over here. Okay, as she tries to get back into Trump's good graces, and Megyn Kelly, downplaying the Epstein files. Yeah, barely legal 15-year-olds, Megyn Kelly. And on top of that, Megyn Kelly is Team Epstein? Yes. By the way, worth noting that all of this threat, you might have noticed in one of the earlier clips that we shared, there was a picture of potential targets on civilian infrastructure, one being the desalination plants in Iran. Worth noting that Tehran itself is going to have to move location, like straight up move the location of the capital of Iran so that people can continue to live in the capital because Tehran is out of water. This is from last year, November of last year. We talked about this on the show. But yeah, Iran's water infrastructure is fucked and they have to move their capital. That was already happening prior to the United States bombing everything, okay? And this whole mess, right? It's just one thing after another. This is all just absolutely positively fucked. And Republicans want to make it more so. Also, apparently, the Israelis are extraordinarily upset that there is a ceasefire. Apparently, a lot of Israeli officials are just freaking the fuck out because they've been making contingency plans specifically to try and continue to achieve their war goals. And despite the fact that Iran specifically included Lebanon in their ceasefire agreement with the United States, Israel, as of 16 minutes ago, is actually claiming the temporary ceasefire doesn't include Lebanon. So this might be the potential weak point of the entire ceasefire itself, which is that Iran has been negotiating on top of, for itself, they've been negotiating on behalf of Lebanon as well. And if Israel continues to invade and ethnically cleanse Lebanon, which they've been doing and has been reported by even mainstream news here in the United States, well, that could be what causes these peace talks to fail. So everything that is happening right now is really contingent on, well, on a whole lot of things going incredibly correctly. And those things are contingent on the incredibly inept people being sent by the United States to properly, keep their balance on this tightrope. So I know that the United States, Donald Trump desperately wants a way out of this conflict in a way that makes him look like a winner. It's why in all of his press conferences, he's trying to claim victory. But Israel does not want peace. Israel has time and time and time again undermined peace negotiations. In fact, I believe Netanyahu himself has said that one of his proudest moments was derailing the Oslo Accords. There's a lot of hurdles between where we are now and like a lasting peace in this particular instance. And I do want to add one more thing, right? Which is that according to the Associated Press director of news for Iran and the Gulf, whose name is John Gambrell, the Associated Press, as of about an hour and a half ago, is saying that Iran's essentially 10-point plan includes an additional point in Farsi that has not been widely reported on in English, which is that they want to have an acceptance of enrichment codified into their peace agreement. And that might be another thing that causes a massive, massive failure in these negotiations, because Donald Trump knows that he can't claim any victory unless he gets them to agree to not enrich. So, yeah, that is where we're at with a lot of the peace negotiations. Might be worth noting or asking ourselves, how did we get here? Well, thankfully, the New York Times came out with a really helpful piece earlier today. How Trump took the U.S. to war with Iran. There's a lot of interesting tidbits in here, of course. But one thing I would like to say is this is interesting. The presentation that Mr. Netanyahu would make over the next hour would be pivotal in setting the United States and Israel on the path towards a major armed conflict in the middle of one of the world's most volatile regions. It would lead to a series of discussions inside the White House over the following days and weeks, the details of which had not been previously reported, in which Mr. Trump weighed his options and risks before giving the go-ahead to join Israel in attacking Iran. Now, let's take a look here. Of course, in the Situation Room on February 11th, Mr. Netanyahu made a hard sell, suggesting that Iran was ripe for regime change and expressing the belief that a joint U.S.-Israeli mission could finally bring an end to the Islamic Republic. At one point, the Israelis played for Trump a brief video that included a montage of potential new leaders who could take over the country if the hardline government fell. Among those featured was Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's last Shah, now a Washington-based dissident who had tried to position himself as a secular leader who could shepherd Iran towards a post-theocratic government. Mr. Netanyahu and his team outlined conditions they portrayed as pointing to a near-certain victory. Iran's ballistic missile program could be destroyed in a few weeks, the regime would be so weakened that it could not choke off the Strait of Hormuz, and the likelihood that Iran would land blows against U.S. interests in neighboring countries was assessed as minimal. And, Mossad's intelligence indicated that street protests inside Iran would begin again. And basically none of that happened. None of that happened. Like, this was just completely nonsense. All of this, by the way, happened while apparently J.D. Vance was out of the country, which seems calculated to keep J.D. Vance out of the room so that they could try and, like, manipulate Donald Trump even harder. We're just like absolutely, I have no words. I have no words for what has happened here, you know? Not to mention the fact that, like, part of the reason, ostensibly, all of this is being done is because Iran is a threat to, Israel, and Israel argues that Iran is a threat to all Jewish people because Iran is deeply anti-Semitic, etc., etc., etc. Well, also over the last several days, Israel apparently bombed a synagogue in Iran. This is the aftermath.
سلام 18 فروردین 1405 هست در مرکز تهران هستیم، جایی که یک منطقه مسکونی هدف حمله سیف آمریکایی قرار گرفته. اما نکته‌ای که حائز اهمیت هست که ساختمانی که الان پشت سر من مشاهده می‌کنید در مجاورتش یک کنیسه بوده که هدف حمله موشکی دشمن قرار گرفته و
But yeah, you can see a lot of destruction here.
ساختمان‌هایی که وجود داشته
worth noting Here is some additional footage from the same network. Here are some of the Jewish folks coming to inspect the ruins of their synagogue. Worth noting, of course, because I know that there are going to be some people who are like, synagogues in Iran? Yes, in fact, you can go on Wikipedia and find a list of all of the synagogues in Iran. There are quite a few, actually. Weird how that works out, huh? Most of them around Tehran. When I was still in the Marines, we went to a joint training exercise in Jordan in 2019. A cultural advisor came and said Iran was an ally against ISIS back then. Yep. Iran was a major player against ISIS just a handful of years ago. Worked alongside U.S. troops in the region. And also worth noting that after 9/11, Iran reached out and coordinated with the United States. There were mass outpourings of support for the United States in the aftermath of 9/11. And today, Republicans are rejoicing at the idea of mass annihilation of the very people who expressed support for the United States in some of our darkest moments. So cool stuff. Cool stuff. As Iran's synagogues get bombed. I don't know. This is a real article posted today from The Hill. Trump's gone too far. Invoke the 25th Amendment before it's too late. Like we are in a moment where I think we need to be pushing as hard as we can to get this man out of power immediately. Okay? I might be a long shot. Call your elected officials. Call every member of Congress you got. All right? Tell them to impeach and convict. Tell them to invoke the 25th Amendment. Tell them to do whatever they can to get this orange fuck out of office, because he's genuinely raining terror upon the entire world. All right? Like, you've gotten to the point where, like, The Hill is Joker posting in the opinion section. All right? Now, some people might be asking, why invoke the 25th Amendment at all? And the reason people are talking about the 25th Amendment is that it's immediate. Right? The 25th Amendment takes place immediately, as opposed to impeachment and conviction and removal, which can take, months. It can take a long time to do. And so that's why you're seeing people invoking the 25th Amendment, because the 25th Amendment also takes Congress to approve. Right? So if you need help figuring out who to call, go to 5calls.org and you can get a list of your elected members of Congress and their phone numbers. You can call their different offices and leave messages, leave voicemails. I'm guessing that there are going to be some pretty full voicemail boxes, but in that case, you can actually fax them at their offices. Use faxzero.com. We are just in a time of absolute insanity. We're in a time where Alex Jones is calling for the impeachment and removal of the president on the grounds of genocide. Like, he's threatening genocide. He's got to go. I mean, Tucker Carlson is out here also.
It is vile on every level. It begins with a promise to use the U.S. military, our military, to destroy civilian infrastructure in another country, which is to say to commit a war crime, a moral crime against the people of the country. Those people who are in direct contact with the president need to say, no, I'll resign. I'll do whatever I can do legally to stop this, because this is insane. And if given the order, I'm not carrying it out. It is.
Like, I'm not handing it to Tucker Carlson. Why I'm pointing this out is because this is the next threat. The next threat are these political opportunists who are going to rise on the back of this. I mean, here's Alex Jones.
Compared to existential threat. How do we 25th Amendment his ass?
The problem is to get the 25th Amendment is harder than impeachment. You have to get 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate.
So what do we do?
Tackle Trump and pretend, let him pretend he's president and publicly report that he's going through a health issue and Vance take over. It literally needs to be something like that. It's that bad.
I've known you a long time. You've never called for a internal coup before.
Ever. But that's how dangerous this is. That's how risky it is for the whole world.
Yeah, if I was the Democrats, I'd stop poking Trump and messing with him. That only makes it worse. Like, you guys need to watch out. This isn't a guy acting like he's crazy. This is real.
Well, what's there going to be to take over in 2026 or 2028 if this hits the fan? If we get it, he's threatening an extinction level event for the people of Iran tomorrow. Does nobody think there'll be any blowback from that? If he follows through on that, the whole world is screwed.
You were saying during the break, there's other ways to do this. People need to not just telling the truth, like Susie Walsh said. It's time to just not. I mean, say what you just said.
Yeah, well, legally and constitutionally, the vice president is an independent elected official. The same as legally and constitutionally, the only oath any member of the military takes, any member of the State Department takes, any member of the intelligence community takes.
I mean, like, this is where we're at. You know, like, the grifters are coming out of the woodwork to try and take advantage of this. I mean, Candace Owens. This is a satanic administration. We all realize that satanic Zionists occupy the White House and Congress needs to move to have the Mad King Trump removed. All of our lives may depend on other countries realizing that Trump is deeply unwell and surrounded by religious fanatics who have convinced him that he is the Messiah. We are in uncharted territory. Leaders worldwide need to act accordingly. I mean, this is the next threat. The next threat is that people like Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Joe Rogan, Candace Owens, Alex Jones, Marjorie Taylor Greene. These people are all coming out and saying, like, this guy is crazy. He cannot be allowed to have power. And even Megyn Kelly, who we just saw in a clip not that long ago say, like, he could drop a nuke and I'd still vote for Republicans. Even she's going like, well, this guy is too crazy to be in power, but like Republicans are okay. And so I'm not saying this to be like, oh, he's losing them, but I am saying that these people know where the political wind is blowing, and the political wind right now is blowing against Donald Trump. That there is an ability to build up your recognition, your power, your brand, etc. by, you know, being a Republican who is vocally anti-Trump. And by doing so, especially someone like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, they're positioning themselves as like this Christian nationalist, anti-Semite far right, right? Like that's the niche they all inhabit. Like Tucker Carlson goes on his show and he will just straight up like repeat blood libel claims. Right? Like he's genuinely an anti-Semite. The same with, Alex Jones, the same with Candace Owens. They all are in that niche. Okay. Some of them have been cagier about it than others. Tucker Carlson, I think, is a bit, at least the clips that get shared of Tucker Carlson are very rarely the ones where he is engaging in blood libel, for example. But they are doing this on purpose because they understand that this gets them views, it gets them power, it gets them, the audience that is being, audience. But the Republicans who are being ostracized and put off by this genocidal rhetoric, right? This is where like the next fascist threat is going to come from. Oh yeah, Tucker Carlson. I'm terrified of Tucker Carlson running for president. It is one of those things that keeps me up at night. He's been incubating for a long time, fine-tuning his message. He's recognizable. I'm worried about it. And I also just want to put out there, this has been enabled by the genocidal rhetoric of the mainstream GOP. The genocidal rhetoric is not just like Donald Trump. It is mainstream GOP. They're basically like one bad day, one like off the record racist rant away from calling like Iranians cockroaches. Like they are straight up dehumanizing folks. And like this has been baked in. It's one of the things I've been talking about for a long time. I've been talking about the fact that, oh, well, they're dehumanizing trans people. They're making trans people into targets for like fascistic abuse, right? And not only that, then, well, it's immigrants. And now it's Iranians. And like, you've got that mixing with like a sense of faux righteousness, end times prophecy. Like, and these people are willing and unfortunately able to carry out unimaginable acts of violence. It is like we might be beyond that precipice of the timeline that Donald Trump gave earlier today for 8 p.m. Eastern time before potentially annihilating the entire country of Iran. But I don't think we're out of the woods when it comes to this fascism, to when it comes to potentially whatever happens next after these negotiations break down. And I do want to say at this particular moment, before we conclude this segment, which has been very long, I appreciate your patience, everybody, that as of about 10 minutes ago, Israel shelled the town of Barachit, which is in southern Lebanon. So Israel is not recognizing the ceasefire when it comes to Lebanon. And we will see how that, what implications that has for a continuation of this ceasefire or any additional peace negotiations that may happen from here. We will be very lucky to see the Islamabad talks come to be. Keep an eye on Lebanon, folks. And all I have to say, call your elected representatives, call your elected senators, call everyone you can, tell them to impeach the motherfucker, and get organized. Join your local Dems, join your local DSA, get organized, because things are going to get worse before they get better. Okay? Make your Democrats more progressive, make your DSA more effective, organize with labor. We're moving towards a May Day general strike and potentially longer ones after that. So now's the time to get organized. Get organized, get organized, get organized. There are more of us than there are of them, and they need our labor for this entire country to function. So get organized. And with that being said, folks, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment letting me know what you think about potentially the end of the world. Leave a comment longer than 8 words, really helps. And also, folks, go check out ImogeneOlivia.com, gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. It's non-tucking lingerie, elegant, sexy, beautiful. Go check it out. Link down in the description. And let's keep on going.
Riverboat deck is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, being and plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard.